This is my TEMU BMW M3. And funny enough, you may recognize it from Supercar Blondie's latest article starting Florida Man, aka me.
But even though this car is 50% TEMU, it is so much more than that. It started off as a rolling shell and we pretty much had to build it from the bottom up. Interior, engine, transmission, door panels, wiring, everything. And it means a lot to me because it is the biggest project I've ever taken on. And today we are finalizing the project that pushed me to my limits.
And today is the day to put some respect in Veronica's name. Here we have everything we need for this car to be capable of over 1,000 horsepower. Should we start with a hint? Oh yeah. I'm so excited right now. Inside this box, y'all, we have some pure stage 2 turbos capable of over 900 wheel horsepower. Huh? These are one of the best turbos you can get for this car out there. This is crazy.
So I guess we could say a turbo's job is simple. It takes exhaust gases, spins a turbine, and forces more air into the engine. But I noticed my turbos are starting to smoke. So instead of replacing them, I'm upgrading to the pure stage 2 plus. These use billet compressor wheels, a larger turbine, which means better airflow. The best part, I believe these are gonna be plug and play, and with the right tune, this could push over 900 wheel horsepower, which we're not gonna do, but it's cool to know that these can handle that.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Why didn't you go single turbo? I own a single turbo BMW 340i. And I've also owned a single turbo BMW 335i. Let's go! This is my face when driving them when they're single turboed. Now, this is my face when they are twin turboed and I have a smaller commute. I'm not always on the highway. Boom. That is what you call a happier face, happier emotions. On a serious note, I love to be 100% with everybody on this channel. I have always enjoyed a twin turbo setup more because, like I said, I'm not always on the highway. I'm not always going fast. I'm just going from here to there, and I want to, have low end torque and have a little bit more fun rather than having to spool all the way up. I only got these turbos because I met with some guy outside of my gym, and I pretty much got them for half of what they're actually worth. Actually, like a 70% discount. Pretty crazy. So I hope they work. But I got more boxes. We gotta give a massive thank you to VRSF. Some nice turbocharged pipes. I believe that's what it's called. In this wrinkle black. Oh, a better J-pipe, I think that's what it's called. J-pipe, maybe? A turbocharged pipe. And I love this material, by the way. The new top mount heat exchanger or intercooler. What?
Again, massive thank you to VRSF. All these items will be linked in the description. The stock S55 intercooler heat soaks really quick, killing power when you need it the most. So this upgrade has a dual pass bar and plate core, which basically means it has 62% more capacity than stock, and it's going to keep cooler temps, especially since we're in Florida. Pairing that up with the other goodies like the aluminum charge pipe, the intakes, it's going to be so much better than the plastic stock brittle parts this car comes with.
And of course, if you have not yet already, you're watching, you haven't subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much. And this is my first ever time doing turbos, twin turbos, on a BMW. Check that out. But okay, we gotta take a lot apart here, so let's get started. M cover comes off, there we go. This brace needs to come off, this needs to come off, these pipes need to come off. So what I'm thinking is we're gonna get the hardest thing out of the way, and that is the turbos. Let's remove the turbos, install the new turbos, and then we can work our way from the bottom all the way up. But we still have to remove all this. I wish the turbo was as easy as that. Why was that not even tight? And hallelujah. There we go. Take this sensor out so then we can remove this. This is gonna give us access to everything down there. That's good.
And also, if you're watching right now, comment below what's the first car you ever installed a turbo on. Mine was my 370Z back in the day.
Sure, come on. Oh, there you go. It was that easy. Now you can see turbo numero uno, turbo numero dos. And these plastic pipes you're seeing they're going to the top intercooler are actually the ones that are getting replaced by this pipe. So check that out. So much better. It's actually a full circle. Here you can see it's kind of flat, not great.
Now step 1 to removing the charge pipe is disconnecting the bolt that's holding it onto the turbo.
And then we disconnect it from up here. Look at that. Boom. BMWs are easy to work on. Cut to when I'm struggling and hating my life removing the turbos. Now this side we do need a long extension to get all the way under there. Get on it. Get on. Oh, I'm on it. I'm on it. And obviously I have not mentioned it a whole lot, but I am also praying that this fixes the smoking issue because I hate driving this car and it smokes. I don't see any coolant in here though, so I was thinking some coolant got passed.
And right off the bat, I'm noticing these turbos are in terrible condition. Probably because they sat for like 4 years.
Wow, that thing, the seals are probably just shot.
Air intake has to come off, so we need to disconnect the MAP sensor.
Boom. Okay, here we go. Yes.
And now that the intakes and charge pipes are out of the way, we can get a nice look as to where the turbos are.
Now that the top end is pretty much removed, we can go ahead, get under the car. We do have to remove the downpipe. To remove the downpipe, we have to remove the exhaust. I really don't want to do that, but we have to. So here we go.
And the front lip is so aggressive, we have to jack up the car from one side, put a block of wood under it, do the same for the other side, and then we can jack it up from the front. And look how nice that Valvetronic exhaust looks under there.
I don't think this is going to be possible, but can we finesse out the downpipes without having to drop the whole exhaust? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that's possible. Wait, maybe, possibly.
Here we go. To detach the downpipe from the rest of the exhaust might sound very simple. It is just 4 bolts and nuts, but the top bolt is almost impossible to get to.
Jeez. I forgot how impossible the top bolt is.
Here is the issue. There isn't enough space to get a socket under there. You need an extension coming all the way from the back of the exhaust to get to the nut. It's ridiculous. Whew, I don't know how I got that. But now that the downpipe is disconnected from the exhaust, we can disconnect it from the turbos. It's pretty much being held on by a clamp, and it's a 13mm bolt keeping it on. And most of the time, these clamps really get stuck on, so we need a pry bar to really pry it open and have the downpipe be loose.
Oh my gosh, it might be possible. Hold on. Oh, this can't go more back. We do have to get new gaskets too, which I forgot to order. I forgot the O2 sensors. I got too excited and forgot the O2 sensors. Ugh. Remember when I put this in and it was brand new? Let's go. Here we go. Oh, it's possible. Yes. And honestly, I can just leave it like this hanging. I don't have to fully disconnect it. This literally made my whole day, my whole night.
The fact that we didn't have to drop the whole exhaust, we saved so much time.
Now I'm a little scared and I do have to figure out which lines I have to disconnect from the block because there's a coolant feed and I believe there's a oil feed, coolant drain, oil drain. We just gotta disconnect those lines and then disconnect the actual turbos from the manifold and then we should be good. This has been so good so far.
And just like that, we're one step closer. One step closer to the final modification for this car. After installing these big turbos, we have completed the Dream M3. What a journey it's been. And the theme of this journey has been struggle, which is what we're struggling with right now. The heat shields are easy, but...
Okay, I'm a little stressed. Getting to all those fittings that go into the turbos and all those oil lines and coolant lines have been a pain. I literally have not gotten one out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to support the engine from the bottom. We're going to take off that engine mount and that should give us enough room to get the ball rolling.
But one thing I noticed is check out the downpipe from the front turbo compared to the rear turbo. There's some serious combustion issues. I think the car may be running just very rich. I don't know, but that does not look normal. And possibly this could be the issue and not the turbo itself. Let me know what you guys think.
World's longest extension to disconnect the motor mount bracket from the actual motor mount. Let me put it this way. If you want a enthusiast friendly car, get a 340i. Don't get an M3. Danny, you cannot keep sitting on the sidelines. What the heck? What are you doing here?
This season, there's no more excuses, no more sidelines. You, my friend, have partnered up with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Wait, I did? Yep, you did.
What?
You did. You sure did. Not only that, though, I'm also going to give you the play. Here's the thing. New customers bet just $5, get $300 instantly in bonus bets, which is crazy. Their biggest deal so far. But not only that, you also get $200 off NFL Sunday tickets through YouTube and YouTube TV. I mean,
What?
it's crazy. It's insane.
That's a good deal.
Let me guess. The promo code is DannyZ, and a link in the description too, right? Mr. Munich is back, and he's absolutely right. We gotta lock in. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers who bet just $5 instantly get $300 in bonus bets. I've never seen a deal like that. That is insane. And you also get the $200 off NFL Sunday tickets on YouTube and YouTube TV. With that being said, thank you so much to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. Take advantage of the deal because it is actually insane. I'll leave the details in the description. And with that being said, let's get back. Okay, let's sort of scratch a lot of what I just said. I want to make these videos as long as possible, and I don't want to be sketchy doing these turbos because when you're taking off that motor mount, the turbo or the whole engine can shift, fall on me, fall on my hands. So we're gonna be safe. We had to borrow this bar from our buddy Gus. Shout out to Gus. And if you don't know what this does, so this pretty much sits right over here on the frame of the car, right? Sits on the frame on this side, and then we can actually thread this tow hook in here. Really cool that BMW has a spot for a tow hook on the engine block. And then these are gonna go through the tow hook.
And as we turn the middle hook clockwise, it's going to start lifting the engine, pretty much keeping it on the air, allowing us to remove the motor mount without being sketchy. Now, the motor mount is two pieces. One is the bracket that goes attached to the engine, and the second piece is the actual motor mount that goes attached to the bracket and then the subframe of the car. The first thing we're bolting is the bracket that's coming from the engine, which is being held on by 4 E-sockets.
And now we have, boom. You don't even have to remove this. I did because I didn't know, so yeah.
Another thing I didn't know I had to remove was the steering rack. Thankfully, this one's not too difficult. It's just 2 bolts and nuts, and you can slide it right out of place. To remove the turbos from the engine block, we have to first remove all the lines that attach it to the engine block. Coolant lines and oil lines, starting with the oil drain. Next, we can do the coolant line that's going into the turbo, and disconnect the coolant hose that's going from the turbos directly into the water pump. I think this is gonna get messy now. The turbos also need oil from the engine block, so now we have to disconnect the oil feed lines. And by the way, all of these are T30 bolts. Pretty simple. And now finally we can go ahead and start disconnecting all the 10mm bolts and one 11mm bolt that's keeping the turbo attached to the engine block. This should be fun. Now, to remove all these studs from the turbo manifold, we did have to get extremely creative. And it just reminds me, doing turbos and working on a BMW 340i is so much easier. I honestly had no idea doing turbos on an F80 M3 would be this difficult. And out of nowhere, hurricane.
I really think like I look like a Florida man now. But with that being said, I believe the first rear turbo is coming out. BMW, why did you make these turbos so difficult? This has been a pain, y'all. I'm going through it right now, but I think the turbo's about to come out. Here we go.
Not only that, typically when you go single turbo, it is much more simple. The fact that we have to put the twin turbo setup back and connect all the lines, I think it's gonna be way harder to put back than to remove. This might be the happiest day of my life.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Yes! Oh my gosh. And the funny thing is, I didn't even buy new studs, so the fact that all the studs are still perfectly on the car, let's go. This makes everything worth it. Let's go. I had no idea doing turbos on the F80 S55 engine would be this annoyingly difficult. This was tough. I mean, getting all these little lines out, what a pain. But Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. Let's go.
But of course, this is a twin turbo, not a single turbo. So we still have another turbo to remove. And I do have a feeling it's not going to be as difficult as the first one since there are no lines attached. So I pretty much only need to get the nuts that are attaching it to the engine block. Easier said than done though.
This pipe simply does not want to come off.
Now we have to remove this pipe because we simply cannot remove the turbo if it's still attached to it. But with me under the car disconnecting both 10mm that hold it on and the super wife, we were able to get the pipe off.
Turbo dropped. Can I get it out through here? I think they got to have to go through the bottom. Never mind. Here we go. Turbo number 2. Turbo number 2.
And even though the microphone died, the happiness from removing the second turbo was second to none. Wow, we did it. When I started this project, I truly didn't think it would have been this tough.
Hello, BMW. Yeah, you need my assistance? Can't help you right now. I believe this is the one that's bad. I mean, it is spinning though. Not great, but it's spinning. But then the inside is just so dark. I'm pretty sure I already showed you guys. It's actually insane. On my left side, we have smoky stock turbos. I believe these turbos are actually made by Mitsubishi. And on the right side, we have the pure stage 2 turbos. These are both the front turbos, and just check out the difference. It's massive. I mean, look how much bigger that is and how nice it spins compared to this side. This ittle bitty. It's so small and cute. I mean, even though these are nice, these are way better. And it's time to throw them on the car.
But before we can throw the turbos on, we need to stop by BMW. Why? Because we need to get all new O-rings and gaskets before we put the new turbos in. And that's when things took a turn.
I didn't think this video would turn into me exposing a dealership, but here we are. And I feel like that was pretty known. So pretty much I need these gaskets, I need 2 of these, and I also do need a bunch of O-rings that they don't have here, so I have to go to another BMW. Either way though, for this gasket, I paid $29.81. Here is how much the exact same thing costs if you just buy it online and wait a couple days. But where it gets crazy is the O-rings. Each O-ring, little rubber O-ring, is like $10.80. If you buy it online, they're not even $3. Absolutely insane, but it is 100% my fault. I should have ordered things way before so I didn't have to pay dealership tax. But why did they do this? It makes no sense. Now, of course, before we throw anything on, here is the $160 in O-rings and gaskets, which we're gonna put on the new turbos and obviously the old lines. So the last thing I would want is to do all this and then have leaky oil lines that I can't even get to because it's so tight in there. So let's get going. Spending $160 on O-rings was definitely not in my book. But if it means the lines won't be leaking, then honestly, I'm okay with it. Okay, here we go. It's got all new O-rings. The only thing we're still waiting for is the gasket that goes behind here, but I think that should get here today. We're running short on time, but this thing's going in. This is the front one. We're gonna put the front one, and then we're gonna put the rear one. The gaskets did get here. Massive thank you to VRSF. I emailed them. I was like, yo, could you please expedite this for me? Boom, we got the turbo gaskets and the exhaust gaskets. Thank you. These are the turbo to downpipe gaskets, and they're basically thin metal rings with graphite layer that crushes to seal the joint. But the thing is, the graphite breaks down super quickly, so every time you remove this gasket, you pretty much have to replace it because it just tears apart. But in with the new turbo, baby. Let's go. Look how nice that looks. One more to go. Yes. Let me tell you, for the second rear turbo, there's nothing to smile about. That's tough. This is a tight one.
This thing was an absolute pain to put back into the car. So bad, in fact, we needed the wife's help again. And even then, it was so difficult getting all the lines to go into place, push the turbo onto the studs, and then...
It's getting stuck. Hold on, I got it right now. Jeez. Yeah.
tried to maneuver my other hand and try to put a nut on the stud so the turbo didn't fall off. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It's definitely not for the weak. Let me put it that way.
Boom, baby.
Nice.
Wow. That was insane. Turbo number 2 is in. And let me tell y'all, that was terrible. But even more terrible, the worst possible thing that could happen happened. Oh my gosh. I dropped this inside of the turbo.
That would have been so bad.
If I wasn't able to get that out with the magnet, I would have had to remove the turbo that just took me so long to put in. Wow. Thankfully though, that was not the case, and now we can go back to putting things back to how they were, starting with the downpipes to the turbo, which is obviously being held on by the one clamp, and then we need to meet the downpipe to the rest of the exhaust, which was actually even more difficult because of that top nut we talked about earlier to put back. You have to get very creative when you can't reach a lot of spots.
Dun, dun. 12 in the morning or at night, whatever you want to say, and we finally finished putting the turbos in fully. Downpipes are semi in, they're in place, they just need to be tightened down. But this reminds me, y'all, this reminds me of me a couple years ago when we were doing this exact same thing on my 335i, my first ever BMW. We learned so many new things, we expanded our knowledge. With that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we finish everything and get to the other more performance mods. Let's go. Was about to lower the car and I almost forgot we still have not put the fender liners on the driver's side. So before we lower the car, let's do that. By the way, if you're gonna do turbos on the M3, I know I've said it plenty of times, just don't. You're fine with the stock turbos. You're good. Don't overcomplicate things. Big intercooler needs to come off. There's a pipe here, another pipe here. We gotta get rid of this J pipe because we got a new one, and disconnect the coolant reservoir from this. I should probably get like an 8mm and that take it out way easier, but sometimes we just gotta bring it back to the old times where all we had was a flathead.
Now, since the turbos are not just fed with oil, they're also water cooled, this car has a top mount charge air cooler, and it's very important. As the turbos compress air, temperatures skyrocket, and the cooler uses a dedicated coolant circuit, which is these two lines we're disconnecting, to pull that heat out before it enters the engine through the throttle body. Now, the reservoir is actually attached to the charged air cooler, so we have to remove both little bolts holding it on.
It should be able to come out, I think. Let's wiggle it out, maybe. Okay, there we go. Y'all, there's so much coolant. I'm so stupid for this. I should have drained, I didn't think I was gonna need to drain the whole cooling system. There's coolant everywhere. There's many towels as possible under here. I really bought these clamps thinking they were gonna work. There we go. Are we off? And we're off. Oh my gosh. Let's go!
Oh yeah. Not only does it look way better, we know it's gonna improve the car's performance, and it's absolutely going to reduce the heat soak, especially since we're in Florida. But before we can even throw this bad boy on, we have to switch over the MAP sensor. Now, what's a MAP sensor? It measures the air pressure inside of the intake manifold, and the ECU uses that data along with temperature and RPM to calculate how much air is entering the engine so it can deliver the right amount of fuel at ignition timing. So yes, it is a very important sensor. Once that's out of the way, we can now transfer over both brackets that allow it to sit on top of the engine and the coolant reservoir to be attached to it.
I'll be completely honest with every single one of you. This was not expected. This was like a very last minute. My turbos are smoking, so I might as well upgrade that whole car type of thing. I'm pretty happy about it though. The fact that we got those turbos out of the way, now we can have fun with it, and I cannot wait for the first start and subtle first drive. Let's go. Oh wait, no, almost forgot. We forgot to remove the J pipe. We gotta take this bad boy off. I still have no idea how this goes, but how does this come off? I don't know. Oh, what the heck? Is that how it comes off? Wait, that's kind of cool actually. That's kind of cool. Okay, not sure why there's coolant. Why is there coolant in there? Well, I probably dropped some while taking out the top part.
As you can see, another theme for this video is we're removing all the plastic pieces from the car and upgrading them with nice aluminum ones. For example, this J-pipe. The stock one is terrible plastic that can completely blow off with that weird clip that keeps it in, and the new one is nice aluminum with the wrinkle black, and we're going back to the regular clip.
Oh, look at that. Always make sure that your ports are 100% sealed off. Yeah, these were not tight at all. That could have been so bad. We are gonna go ahead and Teflon the plugs. You don't have to. It's never a bad idea. You don't want any type of air leak through there. And I believe these ports are in case we're ever doing meth injection. Another thing we almost forgot is the O-ring that goes in here. I know. I'm just so excited to finally hear this car.
Now we can throw on the new J-pipe.
Can't forget the rubber piece. And we want BRSF facing that way. Nice upright. Oh my gosh, here we go. I don't want coolant to start spewing out of everywhere. That looks so good. This had filled in here like a glove. Yes.
By the way, I bought these clamps thinking they would work and not allow the coolant to go through. They ended up not working.
And J-pipe. All right.
Now, here's the deal. Before we start the car, I do want to go ahead and build up some oil pressure in the turbos. So before we throw on the new turbocharged pipes, I'm thinking let's disconnect all the coil packs now that they're easier to get to and build up some oil pressure.
Anyways, the car should not start. Sweet. The turbo should now have oil. This one goes to the front. Oh, this is so nice. Almost forgot the T-bolt clamps.
And now that all that is in place, we can throw on the turbo charge pipes. And honestly, just look how good that looks. Way better than the old plastic ones. This is starting to look like a good M3 engine bay.
Okay, well, my 10mm ran away. So, we're gonna have to ratchet this. And those turbos on there, woo, they look good.
Now that everything is in place, we can throw on the turbo inlet, which is gonna be a tight fit. We have to do our best to slide it into place and then position the clamp where we can get it from the outside. I mean, this is gonna be a little tricky.
Here we go, perfect little angle. Yes. It's all about the angles, baby. Okay, now here we have the new intake. Goes in here like that. You know what I love about this turbo setup too? You would not know this car has bigger turbos unless you peek right over and you can tell right there it's got some pure turbos. I love that. I actually love that.
And another really cool thing, since we don't have an air intake box on this side, I think we're gonna be hearing just a little bit more turbo sound, which is never a bad thing.
The final piece. Also, I know that this carbon fiber is like pretty much faded. This came with the car and these bolts are rusted. So I'm gonna take these out and then have to go to the hardware store.
Actually, now that I think about it, let's be honest, this faded air intake box just kind of looks out of place in this engine bay, especially because we don't have the matching intake piece. So I'm thinking let's completely remove it and just put back the stock air box. It should be completely fine, and if anything, it's gonna look better because sometimes less is more, and it's really gonna give us that quote-unquote sleeper look we're going for. And I think we got it. This engine bay looks absolutely awesome, but also kind of stock in a way, but not really. On the bottom left, you can tell we have bigger turbos, but at a glance, you only think we have intakes and a better charged air cooler.
As I was grabbing the coolant for the car, I had a major brain fart. Okay, so I've been missing a box all along, and I found the box and I found the contents inside of the box. Here we have the other intake that is right next to the turbos. It's pretty much the same as the other intake, except obviously it doesn't have the air box. If I use that intake on this side, it would really be a hot air intake because the turbos are right here and the heat from the exhaust is in here. So on this side, if I were to use an open air intake like that side, then it would really be hot air intake because the turbos are here, exhaust is here. So even though I couldn't find that, I'm okay. I actually do want to keep the stock air box at the end. I also think it looks really good. So
now, someone once said a build is never truly finished, But today, I have a feeling we did just that. A car that got to my house looking like this, we completely transformed it, did everything, and we just finished doing bigger turbos. Literally the dream M3 I never thought I would have.
Okay, before we're able to drive the car, we need to add some coolant in it. Also, I found this little life hack on TikTok. You can actually use the cap to actually break the seal of the bottle. That's pretty cool. The coolant of choice, BMW coolant, but this one is a 100% concentrate, so we gotta do 50-50 with water, distilled water. Ooh, look at that flow, baby. Minimal spillage. Oh. Let the bleeding procedure begin.
Step 1, lights on. Step 2, AC to the highest temperature at the lowest fan setting. Step 3, press down the gas pedal and leave it there for a couple seconds.
And now we wait.
And now the fans turn on and it starts doing its whole bleeding procedure. The BMW system is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. Woo! Okay. What I went through for those turbos is ridiculous, but here we go. First startup in the bigger turbo M3. Like nothing even changed. Woo! Yes! Let's go. Yes. That sounds like a beauty. Now, it's not tuned yet. That's the thing, so we can't go crazy on it. But let's go! Jeez, that is a lot of smoke though. Look at that. Now the smoking is okay because we ripped everything off. There's a bunch of coolant in around the engine bay, and the turbos were sitting for like 2 years, I think. So I think we're okay. I absolutely love the fact that you cannot tell this car has bigger turbos. From the outside, it's a TEMU M3, and from the engine bay, it just has a cool little intake and an intercooler.
Oh man, we really do have the best of both worlds right now. On the right, a manual transmission M3 with bigger twin turbos. And on the left, an automatic big single turbo 340i.
I'll never forget the feeling sitting there in the garage, seeing two complete chassis taken apart. And the fact that we're now driving the car on bigger turbos, how... I hear the turbo a little more. The turbos sound crazy. No, we cannot go crazy. The car is not tuned. Wow. Wow. But unfortunately, there's a massive problem. If you know anything about this platform, you would know that these cars have a massive problem with their crank hub. The thing is, I believe they come into pieces over time. That bolt loosens, and then they're not together fully, so the timing goes off and your engine goes kaboom. I don't want to tune this car until I do the crank hub, because even though this car only has 22,000 miles, I don't want to risk doing a whole engine swap.
The wise man was right and I was wrong. There is still more ahead. The tune, the crank hub, and to really see how much power this car can put down. But today we did overcome a massive feat, and we've come so far with this car already. But as much progress as we've made, the truth is the car is still smoking. It's still smoking just like before. At this point, I'm thinking it might just be the tune. The car is running way too rich. We're also going to be needing injectors.